Hi everyone, this is Jen Kronberger, and I'm taking some time to record my Day 7 video today. I had an interesting week, and I feel like some of the things that I want to share with you are so far beyond what I might be able to put into words. But I'm hoping that as I go through some of these emotions and some of these feelings and some of the ways that I related this past week to some other practices and some other things that I have studied and have felt myself. I'm hoping that maybe I can be clear in how far-reaching this creed was for me. So these past 7 days, one of my missions as I read the creed, I made it part of my morning practice. I spent time ruminating on it. I spent time writing about it. I spent time trying to figure out all the different ways that I could live it in any given day. And most days I would spend with one piece of the creed more than others. Whatever it was that hit me that day is the direction I would go. And I found that fascinating. I've always been somebody who sets goals and writes out goals and has to-do lists, and honestly, with everything in my life and all of the different things that I do, I find that it would be hard to manage without that. However, this past week was different. It wasn't about the to-do lists, and it wasn't about my goals, and it wasn't about where I wanted to be after this and what I wanted to find and what I wanted to accomplish. It was about just allowing. And this is a concept that I've had a really hard time with. I spent some time over the last year studying the Tao and really understanding some of the principles in those 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching. And I've understood in ways this past week that I don't think I've understood in the past year that I've spent reading and listening to and hearing other people's versions of, and just trying to find an understanding of where that might fit into my life. There's one thing in the Tao that really hits me, and I felt it was so connected to this FTR creed, and that's to understand silence and to understand that I don't always have to make things happen. I just sometimes need to accept what is and to allow things to happen. To have that mindfulness and that awareness of we are right where we're supposed to be all the time. And that good things happen and bad things happen. And the thought of this too shall pass, good and bad. And, without one we would not have the other, and so on. And I started to find that through this idea of sitting and just allowing to just be, to not worry so much about what has to happen and going out and making things happen. It's allowing myself to find those pieces within me and not so much having to seek. The Tao says you are doing nothing, rather you are being done. And I find with this creed, I'm not in a constant state of doing. Instead, for me, I'm working more on being. And that was a very powerful thought for me this week. And I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I feel like this feeling, this allowance of myself to be, has created some of the things that I have done this past week. I feel like I've done more by just allowing, by just being, by just accepting what is. And that's where my being audacious has come from, and my understanding of it over this past week. Within the first 2 days of the creed, of practicing the creed, of taking the 7-day challenge, I put together a food drive for a neighborhood food pantry that is bare. Had to shut down a couple weeks ago for a few days because they didn't have any food to serve the 65 to 70 people that they serve every Tuesday and again every Thursday. And what struck me about that was the fact that most times we wait and we hope and we want things to change. We think, wow, that's really sad, and that's a shame that these people can't eat, and then we go on about our daily lives. So my understanding of the allowing to be is not just sitting back and not taking action, but it's allowing what happens inside of us to ruminate to the point where we get into a state of flow. I have been a sports psychology consultant and have my master's in sports psychology, and I've spent a lot of time also reading different different works and different books on that. And there's a book called Flow by Dr. Csikszentmihalyi, and he talks a little bit about what the idea of flow is and allowing yourself to be at that peak state of consciousness as an athlete. And I've related that also, the very fact that that's what I teach, and I teach my athletes to accept that and to just allow and to trust and to let things happen. And I realized, more so probably this past week than I ever have, that I'm not so good at that. And that's okay. And I'm accepting that about myself, and I'm accepting that I want to take a minute to breathe and to be in that same place and to allow that flow. So understanding that type of energy for me has been huge this past week. And it's allowed me to go out there, and instead of waiting for a corporation in the area to put together a food drive, it has allowed me to say, we can make a change and we can do something together. And it just takes one small action. So I recorded a video, I put it on Facebook, I shared it. In just the past week, I have people collecting bags all over the place. I have people sending money. I have people who said thank you to me just because it forced them to go out and do something, and it feels good. And that, to me, is what this is all about. Not just doing, but being. And understanding that we all have that in us to just be. So that's one big piece that I've taken from my week, affected change, and understanding that I don't have to control everything, that I'm okay working on just being. I'm okay having the trust and the awareness to just allow things to happen. In that same regard, I've also definitely related this a little bit to the piece of the Tao that talks about that when we are born, we're gentle and we're pliable, and when we die, we're rigid and hard. And I always relate that. I think back to, I was an English major in college, so I think back to Emerson's writing, and one thing that hit me a long time ago when I read it in college, Emerson had a quote that he said, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. And I don't think I understood that as much as I understand that now. That so often we're set in our ways of thinking, and we are who we think that we should be. And we have this consistency about us, which is a good thing. Consistency is good. But not when we go down a dead-end street and drive around the cul-de-sac, because we don't ever want to quit. That sometimes changing direction is the right thing to do. And sometimes we need to just drive back down that one-way street to find the exit. And I feel like I understand that now. I feel that the piece about cultivating my legacy, that possibly I was focusing on the wrong things, and that possibly I was just in the wrong place. With all of the same tools and all of the same desire and this gut-wrenching feeling of needing and wanting to be and do more, I feel like I have finally found my path. I have finally found the road that was missing off of my map for so long. And this week has reminded me that I can change direction, and I can change mind, and I can stop putting labels on my feelings. That if I just sit and I just allow and I accept, I am living that way, and I am being, I am doing nothing rather I am being done. And that's an exciting awakening, I think, for me to kind of put that together. I feel like I don't need to label myself. I feel like I don't need to really explain what this has done for me. I feel like you will see it, you will hear it, and you will understand with some of these words that I'm giving you, because I almost feel, as Kierkegaard once said, once you label me, you negate me. And I almost feel like I'm in a place of no labels. I am in a place where I am connected to something bigger than me. I'm connected to us as a family. I'm connected to feeling this living from a place of empathy and courage. One of the things that I talk about when I speak with athletes, I have a program called the 5 C's of a Mental Game Warrior. And in those 5 C's, one of the C's is courage. And I share a couple stories about courage, but the interesting thing to me is when you break down the word courage, cor is heart. And the original definition, as I have known it, is to share your story with your whole heart. That's courage. And I have seen in each and every one of you, as a member of this alliance, have courage and be able to share your story, not with part of your heart and not with pieces of you, but with your whole heart. And that kind of vulnerability, I think most of you have talked about, I too have felt. And so often we want to mask that with the smile and the strength and our ability to help others, when sometimes it's just looking inside ourselves and understanding that that courage comes from within, and that courage starts with us. And when we can have that courage, that full disclosure of who we are and why we are, we come to this place of amazing understanding and love. And in my opinion, this past week has created something that I've never been a part of before. I've coached teams, I've played on teams, I've been an athlete all my life. And this kind of family feeling, this chemistry, this culture that we are creating goes far beyond, I think, what any of us realized when we signed up. And I am blessed and I'm honored to be on this journey with each and every one of you. This has been life-changing. And I know this is just the beginning. And I am here, and I meant what I said the other day in my post, that I do see you. I see all of you, and I'm honored to serve you. And I just want to say I love you all, and I love what this feeling of love is. So thank you. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week. I look forward to meeting you all, seeing you all, talking to you. Again, you know, this 7-day is just the beginning 7 days for me. And I know that this will carry on, and I will continue to do this work, which I feel I've been called to do. So again, thank you. I believe in this, and I believe in us, and I believe in our purpose. Love you.